Hi guys, welcome back to Crypto Chester. My name is Chester and I'd just like to say thank you for tuning into today's live stream. I hope you're having a fantastic day. The question I'm going to be answering today is, will Bitcoin dump again? Right, okay, the way that I'm going to be doing that, I'm going to be going through the short term of Bitcoin, the mid term of Bitcoin, and the long term of Bitcoin, okay? And then after that, we're going to be doing some live TA questions in the chat, right? So without further ado, let's just get into it. You have to bear with me, it's my first stream. I'm pretty nervous, but let's just get into it, right? So the short term for Bitcoin at the moment, we are on the hourly chart. As you can see here, we were in this downward price channel, right? We're in this this falling price channel. I can't get my words out. This falling price channel, okay? And the measure move, obviously down from that, was looking something like this, and that was basically caused by Elon doing that tweet yesterday, which was just a bit mad for everyone. And in terms of percentages for that trade, that was around a 9% trade. So well done to everyone who got involved with that. But obviously, it was quite hard to predict because Elon basically caused that himself, right? In terms of what's happened after that on the short term for Bitcoin, we basically it's just been a consolidation period. The sideways is just been continuous, right? We've just been going sideways ever since the dump, right? So we're looking at coming up at the moment and testing this trend line and sort of coming up to kind of reclaim this price channel here. But at the moment, we're trying to find support on this pretty dominant trend line that we have here, that we have basically been testing and finding resistance off over the last day or so, right? So that'd be basically the short term for Bitcoin right now. If we go to the RSI, as you can see, we're pretty central on the RSI here. As you can see, we do have this pretty dominant channel here, not channel, pretty dominant trend line on the RSI here, which I could basically see us coming up on this trend line, the trend line that we're currently testing at the moment, potentially getting rejected off that trend line, right? Potentially getting rejected off that trend line, something like this, maybe coming down and testing this level of support here. And that basically indicates that we're going to come down on the RSI as well and basically find support on this dominant trend line that we have going on here, right? So that's what I think on the RSI for Bitcoin. But we could also, on the RSI, come up and get overbought again and potentially reclaim this channel, right? We could potentially reclaim this channel. Oh, not that. We could potentially reclaim this channel and basically start some more, basically reclaim this channel and have some more of a downwards sort of bear market channel that we've got going on here, right? Can't get my words out. But in order to do that, we'll have to get over the 55 moving average and this other dominant trend line of this channel as well, right? But yeah, most likely scenario to happen is we get rejected off this trend line, we come down, and we test this trend line on the RSI. That's what I think could happen on the short term, right? Moving on to the MACD for Bitcoin, right? As you can see, we did set a lower low, basically killing off all other downtrends on the MACD on the short term for Bitcoin, and that is basically obviously because of yesterday and Elon doing his madness as he does. Ridiculous in my opinion. In terms of an uptrend for Bitcoin right now, this was basically the dominant trend that we had here, the higher high here, basically creating high lows continuously. But as you can see, yesterday we did actually, well, we're currently breaking that now in terms of an uptrend, right? We're currently breaking that now in terms of an uptrend. So we could see quite a high point for the MACD to start off this new trend. Hopefully, in my opinion, we have broke this trend line here, but we can get right the way over it, get a really nice solid start to this trend, break through these trend lines here, break through this 55 moving average that we have here. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, whether it's quite zoomed in or not. Break through that 55 there, reclaim the channel, hopefully, and then basically start some sort of some sort of pattern towards the downside on the MACD in terms of uptrends, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, in terms of uptrends, right? But in terms for us to do that, I could basically see us coming up, breaking through, if we're going to basically set a new all-time high on the MACD, if you want to say it like that, reclaiming this channel, testing this 55 here. If we are going to do that, then I could basically see us reclaiming this channel and basically starting from there, right? But in terms for that to happen, we probably will see another bearish crossover on the MACD, which is not imminent, but you can see these two lines here. They're getting there. They're getting towards each other. So that basically means that we are looking at setting a high on the upside of the MACD here, but we are looking at a bearish crossover pretty imminently within the next day or so. I'd probably say within the next 6-7 hours. Okay, and when that happens, we will probably set a lower high on the MACD here, probably creating some sort of trend looking like so, right? And in order to get a reflection of the price action of that, it's probably going to be, we're probably potentially either going to get rejected off this line, see the crossover imminently, and that will basically mean the price action will come down here, and we could potentially be looking at testing the support of 47 again, or we could basically come up to, we'll be coming down to 48 instead, but we'll see how that goes with that. But that's sort of the kind of trend that we've got going on for the MACD here. So that's something to consider when you're entering your positions, right? In terms of the short term on the WOD machine that we have here, this is a great indicator that I use courtesy of Bitcoin Beats YouTube channel. Go check that out. Yeah, as you can see here, it basically plots in all the major moving averages that we have. We have the 200, the 55, the 10, the 21, simple, right? And basically, we also have the volume weighted ATR bands, and that is this red line that we have here and this green line that we have here, right? And basically, if we're below it, we trend below it, right? We trend below it until we break it, right? So as you can see here, we also basically we respect it when we're inside the channel, if you can see that in that sense, right? We respect it if we're inside the channel. Let me get some examples for you guys to see here. As you can see, we more or less respect it unless we trend below it, right? So that's basically a great indicator for where we're going to take profit, where we're going to enter our longs. So as you can see here, we basically respected it quite cleanly in terms of respect. In sense, sorry, I'm really nervous. Obviously, first stream and all that. You just have to bear with me, okay? But yeah, so that's basically the short term for Bitcoin. I could basically see us coming up and potentially breaking this trend line, finding the support on this trend line. If we can close the candle above it in the next 7 minutes. God, 7 minutes, right? And then I could basically potentially see us coming up and testing this trend line here, testing the 55 that's coming down already, and then basically seeing some price action from there. Hopefully we can reclaim this, but I'm not too sure. We'll have to see how we go, right? Moving on to the midterm of Bitcoin, right? The midterm of Bitcoin for me is the 4 hour. I know some people like to do like the 12 hour and stuff, but for me, the 4 hour is the way to go. As you can see here, we do have a nice falling wedge. We do have a nice falling wedge that we've got a nice lot of confirmation in terms of touching and forming these pretty dominant trend lines, okay? So as you can see, we do have this falling wedge. In terms of a measure move, if we were going to break this falling wedge to the downside, it would look something like so. I know it's obviously on the predication of where we're going to break this trend on to the bottom side. Excuse me. And obviously this measure move itself, a lot of people do really greedy measure moves, something looking like so. But no, in terms of me for crypto, how I trade, I don't like to be greedy. I like to go on basically the trend that's basically just happened, right? So we could be looking at, I hate to say it, a $32,000 Bitcoin, right? Which isn't good for anyone. Well, it's not good for anyone. We've been hodling Bitcoin, right? We want our portfolios to grow. But in terms of a measure move to the downside, that's what I think could happen if we break this falling wedge to the downside on the midterm for Bitcoin. But if we're to break it to the upside, obviously we're quite a long way away in terms of price action. Well, that's the wrong tool. In terms of price action to get there, because obviously we've got all these moving averages coming down. This is on the midterm, remember, the 4 hour. So we do have to break all these major moving averages here, and usually we consolidate along them, basically finding support and sometimes finding nice resistance, as you can see here, and likewise here, right? So I can see us basically coming up, consolidating, going sideways for around a few days, around to the 21st of March, unless we get some ridiculous pumps, unless loads of major companies decide to buy Bitcoin again, and that'll obviously surge the price up. But at this point in time, people are scared. People are thinking we're going to go into a bear market, right? So we need to basically overcome these major moving averages coming down, come up and test the top of this falling wedge here. If we can test the top of this falling wedge and we can break it and find support, in terms of a measure move for that, it would look something like this, right? Because obviously that's going to be the next trend going up. If we can get to the top, right, on the predication we get to the top. But obviously after that we could potentially find support on this trend line and then basically move to the upside, right? If we can find support on this trend line, move to the upside, we could be looking at a measure move all the way up to 68,000, right? We could be looking at a measure move all the way up to 68,000, and that's a new all-time high for Bitcoin. That's absolutely brilliant. But in terms of where I'd be taking profit, if I was to getting along after we break this wedge, obviously on the basis of not that one on the basis of where we're gonna break this where we're gonna break this wedge. Most likely scenario, we're probably gonna skir around, come down, and probably break it somewhere down here. So the new all-time high isn't too big basically. And what I can see here is basically what's going to happen. We're going to come up. We're going to basically start on an uptrend here into a bull market, and then this the volume weighted ATR band that we have here, which as you can see we prominently respect, or we trend above it, right? So as you can see here, we broke this volume weighted ATR band, which is this red line here, right? We broke the volume weighted ATR band here, and then what you can see, we basically just trend above it. Okay, so if you were to enter a trade around this point here, as we broke it on the close of the candle, we could be looking at some sort of trade all the way up like that. And in terms of percentages, right, in terms of percentages for that trade, we'd be looking at something like that, around 34%. Actually, no, we'd probably exit on the retest. So that's still a 23% trade for Bitcoin, which is really, really good. That's what we call a mega trade, okay? A mega trade. That's what we like, okay, right? So in terms of what I think could happen in terms of this falling wedge that we have here, I think we could break it to the upside. Not soon, not anytime soon with the way the market's going, right? Not anytime soon, but over time we will basically, I think we will come up. We'll obviously have to test these moving averages here. We will come up and we will break to the upside, and then we will basically come up and test, because when we come up in terms of price, this is going to basically lift the volume weighted ATR band up as well, right? And that could basically consolidate perfectly, line up perfectly with our measure move, and that would just be an insane trade in terms of fundamentals that are on our side, right? An insane trade in terms of fundamentals that are on our side. And in terms of percentages, just for a little idea in terms of percentages for that, it'd be around a 20% gain for Bitcoin in terms of a trade for us, right? And that'd be really good. We like our gains, right? We like our gains, but obviously be careful, because it is a big falling wedge. So we could come up, we could test, we could do a little fake out, a little spillover, and then basically dump to the downside again. Very trappy markets indeed, and then you will get wrecked. Simple as that. Okay, that's sort of the trend, the trade chart pattern for the midterm at the moment, which I've got. And basically referencing the volume weighted ATR band in terms of support points there on the midterm. Now, if we go to the RSI, on the midterm for Bitcoin, as you can see, we do have this dominant trend. Okay, this dominant downtrend on the RSI. Selling powers here, right? The dominant downtrend on the RSI. And as you can see, we are coming up. We are climbing to the central point of the RSI, which is the best point, because we're not oversold, we're not overbought, right? It's the sideways actions point where it's chilling out, and we can get some nice actual chart patterns here, not just crazy dumb Elon crap, right? So I can basically see us coming up, hitting the center of this RSI, and in terms of the price, as I said, coming up, testing these moving averages here, and that basically is another fundamental that we're basically going to come up off and basically get rejected off this the bottom side of this falling wedge. And we're going to basically, well, we find support on it in a sense, right? So I can basically see us coming up, potentially testing. But as you can see, we have tested this RSI trend line quite a lot of times now, right? We've tested quite a lot of times. So we could potentially even see a break, and that could indicate a break in this falling wedge as well to the upside, right? As just discussed. So that is another fundamental to think about when entering your midterm trades, right? That's kind of the RSI summed up on the midterm. In terms of the MACD on the midterm right now, we have just set a lower low, and that is primarily due to Elon. So that basically indicates sort of a new trend that we've got going on here. We are still currently in there. We are looking for a bullish crossover on the MACD here, and that basically indicate a trend to the upside. And as you can see here, we have just basically completed our uptrend on the MACD here. So we're looking at a new trend. We're looking at a new trend on the MACD on the 4-hourly time frame. Hopefully we can get a nice high uptrend there, and then that basically another indication that we're going to basically come up and test probably the 54. 55 sort of mark for Bitcoin, where the major moving averages are, right? Okay, so we're probably looking at a nice bullish crossover on the MACD. But in terms of downtrend that we have on the MACD right now, which we've just basically set here, we've just started a new trend, because as you can see, we have got this downtrend here, but you can see clearly we've broken it. We've started a new trend, a new downtrend. So once we've seen a new uptrend form, we're going to come back down from that, and it could mean a test to the downside of this falling wedge as well. So be careful when trading that. But I don't think it's going to be a lower low in terms of the MACD here. I think we're probably going to get a lower high and then another lower high again, right? And that'll basically form some sort of trend looking like so. Not the most attractive thing on the chart, but some sort of trend looking like so, right? So that's what I think on the MACD for the midterm for Bitcoin, right? Now, in terms of the long term for Bitcoin, I could basically see it's what we have. This is what it's called the bull market barrier. Basically indicates when we're in a bull market and when we're in a bear market. Okay, as you can see here, we entered the bull market here in around 12k and around in October 2020, right? And we basically just rode it all the way up. Recently we have come down and we have tested it around the 48k mark, and even more recently, obviously due to Elon, we have basically dumped off a cliff, right? And that this turning yellow is an indication of sideways action and the potential of leaving the bull market. For me personally, I don't think the bull market's over. I think we do have several months yet, but as you can see, it does do on this indicator itself, it does do quite a few like fake outs in a sense. So we're obviously in the bear market here. It does come up, it does change color, and it does change back. So what I can predict in terms of what I think is going to happen here, as I said before, on the midterm for Bitcoin here, we are basically going to come up and hopefully we can test the top side of this falling wedge on the midterm, right? So that basically indicates we're going to come up on the bull market barrier, leave this is going to turn blue again, and then we're basically going to continue the uptrend, probably find support on it as we have done here, continue the bull market to the absolute moon, hopefully bringing all the altcoins with it, because that's the real money makers, right? That's for me, that's where my portfolio is basically sat. I do have a few Bitcoin myself, but I shouldn't say that on stream, but in terms of my portfolio, I do hold a lot of altcoins because you get the bigger gains, the bigger gains there, right? The mega gains, in my opinion, right? So that's what I'm looking for in terms of respecting the bull market barrier that we have here. In terms of this indicator called the hash ribbons, as you can see, I do have some signals on my chart here. In terms of it, basically, when these two lines cross, it gives us a long. As you can see here, let me shrink that down so it's a bit more visually appealing. As you can see here, we did get a nice long at around 18k here, and we literally, I think we just closed that trade recently. Absolutely huge trade in terms of percentage. I think it was 170% or something crazy. No, it was 170 175% around that, which is just crazy, just an absolute crazy trade for Bitcoin for the long term. And that's what we really want. Some nice trades like that. This indicator itself is only given 6 trades. Just gonna have a sip of water here. Oh, lovely, H2O. So this indicator itself is only given around 6 signals, but those signals have been great. So that was you just saw that that signal of 178%, and now this one here is 47% for the long term. So this is an indicator that I use because it's very good at identifying the trends, basically, even in a bear market itself. Obviously we do have a stop loss here, but we're never going to win every trade, right? That's just how it is. So, but as you can see, we are making insane money in terms of using these two indicators, because this bull market barrier is great to use in terms of identifying the trade, and this hash ribbon signal indicator here is just God mode. It's just absolute God mode. Now I want to do a little bit on Ethereum, right? I want to do a little bit on Ethereum. Let me go to these charts here. A little bit on Ethereum. I'm going to go for the short term on Ethereum right now. So as you can see, we all know we've all been in an insane uptrend for Ethereum, and it's just been making insane gains over the last like 3-4 weeks or so. I do have a friend who's very heavily invested in Ethereum, and he made quite a lot of money recently, right? But as you can see, we did have this channel, right? We did have this continuous. Let me get rid of the WOD machine here. We did have this channel continuing up to the upside, right? We did have this channel, and then we did have a measure move coming down from that channel, right? I'm on the wrong tool. Coming down from that channel. And the measure move for that was something like so, right? If we were to break this channel, we were having a measure move to the downside, and that was a trade of around 8%, right? So well done to anyone who got involved in that. It was pretty obvious that it was going to happen just because of the price action for Ethereum recently. it's for a chart to be going up literally like not parabolic, but like quite steep indeed. If we go to like the 12-hour, you can literally see it's just it's just it's just gone up. It's literally sitting at 2,000 like in April, right? It's just crazy. It's just crazy how quick Ethereum's gone up, and I think it's shocked a lot of people here. So for when a chart goes up literally like that, we are due some sort of pullback. And in my opinion, I don't think we're done in terms of a pullback for Ethereum. I think we could literally come right back down to around the 3K mark. Let's see if we got any support or anything around that mark. Yeah, we probably do have a level of support here. So around 3,500 Ethereum there. But I'm not really sure when that's going to happen. But as you can see, we have just broke this this rising channel here, so that is something to think about. If we're going to break to the upside again for Ethereum, which it is looking kind of like we're doing that recently in terms of recovering from the whole Elon thing, the next level of support is around 4,073 there. So that's something to think about if you're getting into Ethereum, and that was on the 15-minute chart for you scalpers out there. The next level on the short term for Bitcoin is around the 4,146, but potentially we're probably going to find some resistance off that and come down, right? Let me get some moving averages in there so then we can get some, yeah, okay. So as you can see, we are trying to at this point in time, we are finding support on the 55 moving average here and the price action channel, which is this, obviously, this cloudy area channel here. And that basically chucks all the moving averages into one. It gives us basically an average. And as you can see, if we're above it, we're in an uptrend. If we're below it, we're in a downtrend. Okay, it's pretty prominent itself in terms of not quite a signals indicator, but sort of an indicator to use to indicate the trends in a sense, right? So at the moment, we broke the price action channel, but we are testing the 55 moving average on the short term for Ethereum here. If we can find support on that, I can see us coming up and testing this 4,150 mark around that horizontal resistance level there, and also we do have this trend line here, obviously from this channel, right? So if we are going to come up, obviously, over time, it's not going to be quite parabolic, right? I don't think, because after Ethereum's run up, I don't think we're going to get some crazy runs, right? So if we are going to come up and test this horizontal resistance line, I can see us, if we can find support on that, we're basically going to come up and test this trend line itself, right? When we test that trend line, if we can get up there, I don't see us holding it, to be honest. We're going to see some sort of swift rejection, okay? As you can see here, we did come up and we tested it here, and you see the momentum towards the downside from that. And the thing with trading, history seems to repeat itself in terms of chart patterns, right? So I think we will see some sort of dump towards the downside for Ethereum if we can come up and test this, get over this horizontal resistance line and find support on it. Then I can see us basically having a dump from there. So if you are going to trade this, like, be careful, because obviously we have been running up for a long time, right? We've been running up for like 3-4 weeks now, so we need to think about these big retracements, because otherwise the chart is not healthy. And we didn't quite get there on the volume weighted ATR band, right? So that indicates that we could be coming down to test it again. So as you can see on the volume weighted ATR band, again, it's this red line at the top. Don't know if it's pink, a bit colorblind. And then we got this green line at the bottom, right? We do tend to find support along it, right? We do tend to find support, and if we don't find support on it and we break it, that basically indicates that we're going to be riding it up, right? We're going to be riding it like a wave. We'll be riding it like a wave until we break again, and that's basically an indication for me for a trend, right? So when we break it, we test it, we get into a nice long, and then there, look, it's a nice 7% gain for Ethereum. And if you're trading, that's just a spot trade, right? If you're trading leverage, then you're going to have insane more gains than that, right? So that is basically what I think for Ethereum on the short term, right? If we can just go to the midterm for Ethereum, right now, as I said before, we've just been progressing to the upside continuously. In terms of like consolidation, we've been consolidating for quite a while. In terms of the RSI, let's go back to the short term quickly. Yeah, in terms of the RSI for the short term, we are looking at being pretty central. We're not quite overbought yet. But we do have some pretty dominant pretty dominant higher highs on this RSI here. So as you can see here, we are potentially going to come up and test the top of this RSI trend line that we have here, right? And that I don't think we're going to break it. If we break it, then we're going to be overbought, and then we're going to probably see some dump towards the downside, right? So if we are going to break it, then we are going to see a big surge in the price, right? But obviously that has to retrace, so that could be some sort of retracement mark at this point of resistance. But most likely scenario to happen, right, is to come up, test this trend line that we have here. Test this trend line that we have here after we found support on this 55 that we have here. Come up, test it, get rejected, and basically come to a more central level on the RSI, and that's kind of what I think is going to happen. So be prepared on Ethereum for a nice surge to the upside, not for too long, for a few hours or so, and then we're going to see some retracement in the price, okay? And that is the RSI for the midterm on Ethereum. In terms of the MACD for Ethereum, right, we have just set a higher high in terms of an uptrend. So that is an indication that we've started a new uptrend for Ethereum itself on the short term. So we could be seeing a surge in the price, right? So it's basically another fundamental that the price is going to go up, set a bigger high because we're still actually in that trend. And then we're probably going to see a bearish crossover to the downside. And we're probably, it's tricky because the retracement here, we're probably going to come up and bounce off the 55 moving average here, right? The 55 moving average is probably going to come up something like that. Then the price actually is going to come up something like I don't think we're going to get to this horizontal resistance level, but I don't think we're going to get there, right? So I think we're probably going to find resistance around this point, around the 4,100 mark, and then get rejected and come down and test that 55. When we get rejected and come down and test that 55, that will indicate a switch on the MACD, and we'll basically probably form a lower high in terms of a trend, right? And that's when I can see something sort of happening like so, right? We'll basically set a new lower high here in terms of the MACD, and then we'll probably see a consolidation period around the 55 moving average that we have here. A consolidation period, and that'll basically mean that we're going to set a nice lower high, completing this trend on the MACD, right? That's what I think is going to happen for Ethereum for the short term. In terms of the long term for Ethereum, what I have going on here, let me get the chart up. Yeah, that's what I have for the long term, what I think is going on. At the moment, as you can see, we are currently above the volume-weighted ATR band, which is, let me get rid of all these for a sec. Yeah, which is this red line here. So that basically indicates that we are going to trend above it, right? As you can see here, we did break it to the upside. We broke it to the upside on this volume-weighted ATR band and on the price action channel, and we have basically rode it all the way up continuously. We have rode it all the way up continuously until we break there. So in terms of a trade for that scenario that we had playing out there, we're looking at something like that. So like 160% trade, which is just gains. It's just stupid gains, right? It's mega gains. Exactly. And at this point in time, we're above the volume-weighted ATR band. We're continuously climbing. We haven't quite tested it right. We haven't come down and tested it. So that's a small indication that we could come down and basically test. I don't think we're going to come down straight away because, as I said, on the short term, we are basically coming up to test that 4,100 mark. But we could see some sort of swift rejection from there. I would like to say that Ethereum is following Bitcoin continuously, but we know at this point it's not, in terms of what's happened in the last 3 weeks, right? Or 3-4 weeks, right? So it could basically dump off a cliff pretty soon and come down and test this 3,200 mark and basically find support on the volume-weighted ATR band and basically start progression up from there. Or we lose it and we enter this channel again, right? But as you can see, on the long term, we basically kind of just hold the top side in this bull market that we're in, right? So I can basically see us coming down, testing this volume-weighted ATR band. When we're ready, after we've done some testing of resistance points at the top, at the all-time high, but we definitely will come back and test this volume-weighted ATR band at some point, right? So that is the long term for Ethereum in terms of what I think is going to happen in the charts, right? It's just continuously, we're just going up. It just goes up, which is, it's a problem. It's a problem for Ethereum at the moment because for me, the fees are just ridiculous. For everyone, the fees are just ridiculous. I don't understand what it's doing. I don't think anyone understands what it's doing at the moment. They obviously have an announcement, I think, in July, but that's something to think about. And I think they're gonna. The rumor is they're solving all their problems, but in my opinion, I don't see how they're going to do that, right? Yeah, let's just switch back to Bitcoin a second. I think we are, yeah, we're testing that zone on the on this broadening wedge that we have here, right? The broadening wedge that we have here. We're testing this trend line. We did find support on this resistance line on the long term for Bitcoin at around 49. We're looking at coming up and finding support on this trend line that we have here. And as you can see, the momentum towards the upside once we find support on this trend line is it's quite strong. It's quite strong. So that's a small indication there that we're going to come up off this trend line, bounce at around 54k. The price action channel is going to come down as well. We do have another dominant trend line there of that channel that we had before, and the channel that we lost before Elon decided to do his madness. Yeah, so I can basically see us coming up, testing this this trend line here on Bitcoin long term, and basically probably coming down from there, right? So yeah, so that's something to think about in terms of trade trend patterns for Bitcoin, right? And if you were thinking about getting in a long once we find support on this trend line, because I wouldn't say it's the worst position in the world, but you just got to be careful because we are dumping like crazy, and if your stop loss is going to be considerably low if you're going to try and chase these previous candles, right? So that's something to think about as well. But if you're going to get in a long, once we basically close this 12-hourly candle and find support on this trend line, you'll be looking at a nice little 7% trade there, okay? For a spot trade, not bad at all. Leverage trade, you're going to be making the gains, okay? You're going to be making those silly gains there. But obviously, for new traders out there, be careful for trading leverage, because it can get pretty nasty out there and you can get liquidated pretty quickly, okay? So that is basically the long term for Bitcoin. In terms of what I think is going to happen, I think we're probably going to find support on this trend line and basically progress up. If we can break this trend line of this channel that we had before, then that would be ideal. But we do have a lot of resistance to get through, right? We do have a lot of resistance to get through. So that is basically a pinnacle point for Bitcoin, and we could see another rejection. Okay, in terms of how that's going to affect the altcoins out there, I think today we're probably going to see some pumps. Okay, because as you can see, the momentum to the upside once we're testing this trend line is big. It's big. You get big momentum to the upside, and as I said before, it tends to follow itself, right? Let's get my chart back. It tends to follow itself, right? So I can see us basically coming up, testing this trend line. Hopefully we can reclaim this channel, right? If we can reclaim this channel, then we could be seeing some sort of more sideways action in this channel, and then potentially a break to the upside. We also do have this volume weighted ATR band coming down here, and as you can see, we do respect that continuously. If I can get my chart looking good, yeah, we do respect that continuously, which is this red. This red line here. We basically respect it, and if we don't respect it, we trend above it, right? We basically trend above it. As you can see here, we did trend above it continuously. So yeah. So I think we could, if we're looking at some sort of measure move from breaking this this price channel here, in terms of will Bitcoin dump again? If we lose support on this, trend line of this broadening wedge that we have here, we could potentially dump and basically come down and test this side of the volume weighted ATR band again, and that's around 47k. Okay, but we do also have this horizontal support to get through as well. But yeah, in terms of a measure move for breaking this wedge to the upside, not wedge to the upside, this channel to the upside here, we'd be looking at around a 9% trade there, okay? But obviously, that's not going to come straight away, otherwise it'd be too parabolic, and so we do have quite a lot of sideways consolidation period to get to that point, right? So I can probably see probably 5, 6, maybe even a week before we even see that, and that's basically on the predication that we're going to continuously go up from there, right? Which we all know the markets at the moment. Everyone's scared, right? In terms of the MACD for Bitcoin on the midterm, right? We have just set basically a new trend. We've basically set a new trend on the MACD here, because as you can see, the previous downtrend that we have here runs something like that, and we have just broken that. We've just broken that trend line on the MACD. So we're setting a new trend currently. We're probably due a bullish crossover on the MACD here. My tools are not working. We're probably due a bullish crossover on the MACD here, and that basically indicates another indication that we're going to come up and test this trend line itself, right? So yeah, that's what I kind of think is going to happen for that. Now, if we move to let's move to, what should we go for now? I think maybe a little bit of BNB, A little bit of BNB. As you can see here for BNB, what we do have this channel, this continuous channel that has been that we were respecting for a while until Elon did his madness again. Can't swear on this stream, but I want to. Yeah, because Elon did his madness and annoyed a lot of people, right? So yeah, in terms of what I think is going to happen for BNB, I think we're due some insane stuff for BNB, right? Because Ethereum's doing it, and in my opinion, BNB is 10 times better than Ethereum. That was a mistake. Yeah, in my opinion, BNB is 10 times better than Ethereum, right? So if we go to the long term for BNB, we have seen this progression. We've seen this progression to the upside, right? And we do have sort of we do have basically this uptrend formed, but we do have a lot of levels of support to get through. At this point in time, we're testing the horizontal resistance level of around 59.9, right? So I have to get a bit more zoomed in, around 59.9. So we're testing that sort of level. And we are testing this price action channel as well. If we can find support on that level, I can see us basically coming up and trying to make some sort of attempt at reclaiming this channel, right? Some sort of attempt at reclaiming this channel and basically continuing that, in a sense, mild uptrend, right? We were chilling, right? We were chilling. Everyone holding BNB. I hold BNB in my portfolio, and I've been watching it over the last like 3 weeks or so, and it's just been like gradually pushing up, swing trading it. Like it's been quite a nice thing to trade until Elon did what he did, right? So hopefully we can get over this price action channel. We can find support on this horizontal resistance line. If we can find support on that, if we can close the candle in the next 2 hours and 37 minutes above it, that would be great. And then we could be looking at coming up and finding this channel again, in a sense, right? If we can find that channel again, then we could be looking at something along the lines of this. We basically come up, we find the channel, we do some consolidation inside the channel, in a sense, not sideways, but more sort of mild uptrend, if you want to call it. But we do have this all-time high resistance point to get over. I'd love to see us get over that for BNB, because it's quite big in my portfolio, and I'm a believer. I'm a believer in BNB, right? Because of all the cheap fees and what it's done in the last literally 6 months. They've just done crazy stuff like Binance Smart Chain and all that jazz, right? They've done some amazing stuff, and I really think BNB is due. It's due a big breakout in terms of copying Ethereum. But in my opinion, Ethereum is actually pumping right now. In terms of my opinion for BNB, I do think we are due a breakout. Not yet, because obviously the markets are pretty they're all down at the moment due to Elon. But yeah, in terms of BNB, I think we are due a breakout. In terms of the short term for BNB right now, we are coming up and we are testing the a resistance point. We will be coming up and testing the resistance point of around $609, right? We have just got over the price action channel here. And we do have a bit of a little bit of an uptrend forming here, right? We do have a little bit of an uptrend forming, so that is something to think about. We do have it's an upwards channel, right? It could be if we find support. If we don't find support and get rejected here, we could be looking at some sort of rising wedge here, and if that's to be confirmed, then we will be looking at some sort of measure move to the upside, looking like this, depending on obviously where we break. And that basically indicates that we could basically come up and test this channel on the long term again, right? And that's what I want. I want to claim that channel, right? As you can see here, this green line that we have here, this is called the volume weighted ATR band, right? The volume weighted ATR band is a great tool to use. It's a great tool to use. It'll be available basically on subscription basis soon. I'm not quite set up in that, as it being my first stream, right? I'm not quite set up in that yet, but I will be in the future, so keep your eyes out for that. As you can see, we do continuously find support on it, and if we don't find support on it, we trend below it, and then we come back. We always come back to it, okay? It's inevitable. We always come back to it, and that's why it's such a good indicator to use. So as you can see here, we either ride along it, like so, or we find support and basically start an uptrend, okay? So that's something basically that I use to trade like a lot. It's a great point, a stoppage point, right? It's great for you to take profits, it's great for your stop losses and that sort of thing, right? But in terms of what I think is going to happen imminently for BNB, I think we basically found support right now on this price action channel. So I could potentially see us coming down, testing that price action channel. I need to zoom in a bit more. Testing that price action channel yet again. It might be better on the 15-minute actually. Yeah. Testing that price action channel again, and then basically coming up from there. Okay, and that'll be around the 595 mark. So not quite that far. Around like $8 away, so not too far in terms of percentage to the downside. We're probably looking at like a 1%, nothing crazy, right? But if we are going to be breaking this this rising wedge, right? If we are going to be breaking this rising wedge, I can see a measure move coming up. All the fundamentals are there for us to come up and test this channel that we had before on the long term, right? I can see the fundamentals forming. Let's have a little look at the MACD and see if we can get a nice indication of what we think is going to happen there. As you can see here, we have set a higher high in terms of a new trend, right? A higher high in terms of a new trend on the MACD here. So that basically indicates we're ready. We're ready to go. We're ready to go, in a sense, to the moon. Okay, we have just completed this bear trend here on the MACD here. We have just been setting higher lows continuously. So yeah, we're probably looking at coming up, potentially testing this trend line. And this level of support, this level of resistance here, right? And then we're going to see a bearish crossover on the MACD, right? Once we see a bearish crossover on the MACD, it's pretty obvious here that we are going to be starting a new trend, right? We're going to be starting a new trend, so that could indicate a big dip in the price and a new lower low being created on the MACD, right? So that's something to think about and to be careful when trading. That could be as simple as coming up, testing this horizontal resistance point, and then dumping back down and testing this price action channel, right? That could literally cause a lower low itself. So that's something to think about in terms of trading, right? But then obviously we are gonna have a bearish crossover in the future again. And depending on how high we can get this this higher high for this new trend, this new uptrend on the MACD, then we're probably going to form some sort of, in a sense, a stairway sort of trend line action from there, right? Looking kind of something like this, right? No, that's not the draw tool. Looking like something like this, right? And then we're going to flip over, yeah, something like that, right? If that makes sense. Pretty awful drawing. But yeah, so that's something to think about on the short term, and that is another fundamental that we are currently still in the uptrend. We are potentially going to come up and test this horizontal support line, right? Now, in terms of, and that is on the 1 hour, so the short term for BNB. Right, at the moment on the RSI for the short term, we are currently in the middle, okay? We're in the middle, we're not overbought, we're not oversold, but as you can see here, we have this pretty dominant trend line coming down, okay? Pretty dominant trend line. We have already tested it once. God, my stomach's doing some madness. We have already tested it once. Oh no, yeah, I suppose, yeah. That's like, yeah, third test. We're looking at a third test for the RSI. But in terms for that to happen, we do need to come up on the RSI and just buy BNB, right? Come up a little bit more, right? And that is another fundamental that we're going to come up and test this horizontal resistance point, okay? If we break it, brilliant. We're likely to break this wedge and basically start a measure move to the upside, right? If that happens, brilliant, absolutely ideal. If it doesn't happen, we're looking at a swift rejection on the RSI coming back to the central point, and that basically is another indication that we're going to come down and test this price action channel. So yeah, be careful with trading BNB today, because that is pretty, it's not unpredictable, because obviously we have tested it a few times, so it is likely that we are going to respect it, but we could potentially break it as well. But obviously we are on the, so you can't see that on the chart, but obviously we are on the halfway point is like 50, right? So we're on the upside of that, so it's likely to get some sort of retracement from there, so we're likely to respect it in terms, right? So but before we get there, we do need to come up and test that horizontal resistance line, right? Now moving on, right? Let me move on to Doge. I hate Doge, in my opinion. I absolutely hate it. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Well done to all the noobs that got rich and stuff. But yeah, it's an absolute joke in my opinion. But yeah, everyone loves Doge, so let me do a little TA on Doge, right? I'm just gonna have some water here. My throat is burning. Obviously, it's my first live stream, so I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna be doing this every single day. I want to be streaming from 8:30 to 9:30. No, I want to be starting my stream from 8:30 in the morning 8:30. I want to be starting my stream at either 8:30 or 9 in the morning. But this morning I actually had some audio problems because obviously it's my first stream, so I'm just kind of getting to grips with everything. But yeah, I will be progressing up from there. So if you want to stay with me, drop a subscribe. We'll be here every morning basically. Wake up with me, trade with me. That's the idea, right? So in terms of Doge, what's happening here? And obviously I will get better in terms of expressing my opinion, right? Because obviously I'm quite new to this whole speaking on camera, speaking on the mic sort of thing, right? To an audience in a sense. So as you can see here, we do have dominant upside for Doge here, dominant upside, and you can almost say that we've got this channel in a sense, right? You can almost say we've got this channel in a sense. Let me get rid of the WOD, so it's a lot more visually appealing. Yeah, so as you can see this, we are actually in a little bit of an uptrend, and we have found support on this 41 cent mark for Doge here. I actually thought we were going to dump off a cliff completely. We were going to basically lose this channel and see some sort of measure move down from there. But obviously Elon did his thing, and that's a crazy measure move. Elon did his thing, and it just kind of went mad from there, because what he did on his Twitter, he said, well, you guys probably already know this, but he said, would you like me to accept Doge for Tesla? Like, what? And then he said, we're not accepting Bitcoin anymore. So everyone's kind of pushing to the inkling that they're going to start accepting Doge pretty soon, which is going to annoy a lot of people. And I know quite a few people have actually retracted their Tesla truck order, which is kind of crazy. And Elon's getting kind of boycotted a bit at the moment, which it's interesting, because I did respect him from an entrepreneurial standpoint, but he just ruined it, right? He absolutely ruined it in terms of basically saying all the stuff about Bitcoin not being environmentally friendly. I know all the mining power for Bitcoin is 39% renewable, right? The rumor is it's 70, but it's not. But you can't make something amazing without breaking a few eggs, if that's the saying. You can't bake a cake without breaking eggs, or something like that, right? But yeah, in terms of Doge, I think we're potentially going to come up. The next point of resistance to sort of test is around the 70 cent mark, which for me it's really, really far-fetched in terms of percentages. We've still got to climb a good 30% for that, but obviously we got the FOMO market back in it. We got Elon, he might tweet any second, so we just don't know what's going to happen there. So it's a high possibility we could come up and test that. I think it's the all-time high for Doge. Yes, it is. And if we do find support on that, we are going to break it and then basically come up and test this this topside trend line that we have here, and looking at around 80 to 90 cents, right? 80 to 90 cents for Doge, which is just crazy. In terms of market cap for that, we'll probably be looking at, I don't know, maybe 100 billion, like some crazy like that. As you can see, it's been going up crazy recently. But yeah, in terms of what I think is going to happen, that's the kind of long term for Doge. But at the moment, we have basically cleared on. This is the long term, right? We have basically cleared all of the major moving averages, and we're in a sense finding support above them. And it's looking quite healthy to the upside if you're trading Doge. If you're even holding Doge, right, we do have 2 hours and 25 minutes left on the 12-hourly candle, and that basically, I can basically see kind of a pullback happening from there as normal, and then basically the test of the 21 and the 10 moving average here, right? Probably come down, test, and basically see some sort of dump towards the downside, probably around a 4 or 5 cent dump. We'll see, obviously, depending on where this candle closes, probably around a 7%, right? Okay, so that's basically something to think about as well. But we will be switching to the short term in a second. But yeah, that's what I think it's going to kind of happen on the long term for Doge. In terms of what's happening on the MACD, we've just set like the lower low on the MACD there, so we do have an indication that that's the lowest that we're going to go, because obviously we can see the trend reversal on the chart, right? We see the trend reversal, and we can see that we're due a bullish crossover on the MACD here. Okay, once we see that bullish crossover, we will potentially see a surge in the price and a new trend forming, right? That's the MACD for the long term. For Doge, we are sat on the central point for the RSI on the long term for Doge. But yeah, let me move to the midterm for Doge. Midterm for Doge, we do have the volume weighted ETR band here, and that is around 63. So we're potentially going to come up and test that. Oh, that's the wrong tool. We're potentially going to come up and test that, and potentially ride the wave up. If we break it, as you can see here, this is the red line here, right? Let me get rid of these moving averages so you can see. Yeah, so as you can see here, if we if we break this volume weighted ATR band here, we test it, we break it, we form like a quite healthy uptrend, and that's basically, we come down, we test it, that's an indication for a trade, right? And that's a 50% trade, right? And that's why I use this volume weighted ATR band, because it's heavily respected and there's some great trades in there, right? As you can see, we broke it here. This is obviously the midterm for Doge. This is yeah, the midterm for Doge. As you can see, we broke it here. We came down. We didn't quite retest it, but no, sorry, we broke it here. We came down. So I would have entered my trade around here and rode it up until we closed again, right? Rode up until we closed again, and that's like a 263%, right? So that's definitely something to think about. These indicators will be available for rent in the future, but obviously I'm a new streamer, day one. I'm not quite set up in that. I just want to get on camera and get confidence up and do that sort of thing, because I do enjoy trading. I do enjoy educating my opinion across the internet, if that's how you want to word it, right? In terms of the midterm right now for Doge, we have just broke this price action channel here. We have just broke this price action channel. The next point of resistance that I can see on the chart here is the all-time high at 71 cents, right? I don't know how the hell Doge got there, but it got there, right? Yeah, so I can see us basically coming up, potentially testing that. No, not potentially testing that. We're going to be testing that, and then we're going to basically come down from there, because unless the FOMO market drags it to the moon, but I really hope it doesn't, because I hate Doge in my opinion, right? But yeah, that's the midterm for Doge. Long term for Doge, short term for Doge. Right now, we do have not a lot going on in my opinion, right? We do have obviously support. We're testing a horizontal resistance point at the moment. We didn't find support on it currently. We did actually break it, and we're looking at the retest now. We're looking at the retest. If we can close above it in the next 22 minutes on the hourly chart, then we're going to be looking at finding support on it and moving to the upside. And then we also have got this volume weighted ATR band coming down as well. So that is another indication that the price could get to around $65. I hope it doesn't, because I hate Doge. But yeah, moving on from Doge, let's move on to ADA, baby. ADA, baby. Right, we'll start on the short term for ADA. Yeah, short term for ADA. Let's get some, yeah, short term for ADA. Let me just move this chart around a bit. It's all a bit messy. Yeah, short term for ADA, right? We are currently in, the chart is really messy. Let's go long term, right? We do have this broadening wedge that we have just broke, right? We have just broke this broadening wedge to the upside, and also it is pretty like a channel as well, right? I don't know if you guys can see that. We do have sort of a channel motion forming on ADM. We have had that since February, right? So I think all these ADA holders, myself included in that, we have been looking for that breakout. That breakout was initially signaled around the 150 mark, and we did actually get up to 197 yesterday, which is, in my opinion, extremely surprising because of everything that was happening in terms of Elon. He crashed the market significantly. In terms of a measure move for that, we did actually get out at 191. In terms of a trade, in terms of percentage, that was a nice 27% trade, right? So that's definitely that was definitely a great trade there. In terms of like the more of the midterm for ADA, we do have this channel here, right? We do have this channel that was formed on the consolidation period when we broke that broadening wedge on the long term. So we do have this channel that was formed here. So that is, we basically broke that channel here, and we're looking for that measure move to the upside, right? We're looking for that measure move to the upside, and that measure move is to around 207 sort of area, right? In terms of a measure move there, we're looking at something like that. Yeah, something like that. And then to the upside from where we broke, which was here, or we could do from where we retest, obviously depending. I like to get on the retest in my opinion, just because we do get a lot of fake outs in crypto, right? But yeah, we do have, I'm currently live in a position, and this is going to be my take profit zone when we complete this sort of measure move. And we did set a new all-time high for ADA, right? We set a new all-time high here, and that has basically created this insane resistance points that we need to break through, right? If we can break through it and find support here, then I can see us basically progressing up further. But if not, then it's tricky, right? Because we have obviously, like yesterday, we pumped like from the bottom of Elon's mess, we pumped literally like 30%. So it's just ridiculous gains on ADA, right? So that is an indication that we are going to come back down, right? We could come back down if we lose this volume weighted ATR band that we have here, right? That we continuously playing around on at the moment. If we lose that, then I can see us basically coming down, reclaiming this sort of channel here, and basically testing this price action channel. And potentially seeing some surge to the upside from there. But it's all depending, right? It's all depending on what happens, because we know these markets, and we know what's happening, right? Let me chuck in some moving averages here. So it's a lot more. Yeah, so as you can see, we've got the two weaker moving averages following us up. We've got the two weaker moving averages following up, and the more dominant ones are down below, right? More dominant ones are down below. So we've got the 200 down there. We've got the 55 here. The price action channel is basically made up of a lot of them, and then we've got these two, the 10 MA and the 21 MA, right? And then the volume weighted ATR band at the top, right? So that is basically another indication that we're going to come down. Basically test these moving averages here, potentially just test them and come up from there, and probably have basically a fake out for the people that entered this as a long position, coming out of this channel here, a long position for this coming up. A lot of people would have their stop loss like just below this trend line here, so I can basically see us basically coming down, testing this trend line here, testing these moving averages here, stopping out quite a few people, right? And that's basically going to be the goal before the surge to the upside, because their goal at the end of the day is to get those people stopped out, bank that money, and then basically surge the price up after that, right? So that's initially what I think is going to happen with ADA. Let me move to the short term for ADA, right? We do have these. Let me go short. Let me get rid of some of these chart patterns here. Yeah, as you can see, we did have a symmetrical triangle there. Let me get rid of that, because we did actually complete the measure move for that. Yeah, I mean it's pretty much like the midterm, right? We do have this channel. We are still in this channel, so we could surge up and retest around 194, 195 area. I don't know if we're going to get an all-time high here, but we're probably looking at some sort of sideways channel action for a bit because of yesterday and how ADA actually performed, right? Before we see another surge to the upside. I am extremely bullish on ADA, and I have been for quite a while, and it's quite a big thing in my portfolio just because of the announcements and what they're trying to achieve in Africa. Like, it's just really, really crazy. They're trying to give like everyone an identification number on the blockchain, which is it basically means that they can get mortgages, get credit, live like the West in a sense, right? They can just live like the West, okay, if that makes sense, right? They're using it for education, using it for credit scores, basically all the stuff that we have here. They're basically their goal is to have that across the whole of Africa, and also they've paired up with a lot of companies, basically giving everyone mobile phones and all of that stuff. So, and basically creating internet connection like across the whole of Africa wirelessly, which is just insane, right? So that is basically ADA's plan. That's a fundamental of ADA, and another reason why it's getting bought up and basically going to the upside, right? So yeah, I'm extremely bullish on ADA on the long term. For the end of the year, I can basically see probably like at least in terms of the surges that we're having at the moment, for ADA, hopefully we can see some sort of look, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. The gains that we've been having for ADA since literally like the start of the year, it's just been ridiculous, right? I think they released some new technology in March, I think it was. Yeah, new technology in March, and that surged the price up, of course. So this point here is basically a consolidation period, and we could be looking at another leg up, right? Another leg up will sit us around $4 or $5. I know a lot of other YouTubers are predicting $4. I think that'd be amazing for ADA to get to $4, and amazing for my portfolio as well, right? Because obviously I'm quite bullish on ADA. I hold quite a lot of ADA, right? In terms of the short term for ADA, I think we are probably going to come up and test the all-time high again. Maybe even break it and test this volume-weighted ATR band here around 199. But I don't see us getting to $2. After the surge yesterday, we do need a consolidation period to cool off. The market needs to cool off. We can't keep riding up. I did see it trending on Twitter yesterday, which is quite cool actually. So yeah, that's kind of what I think is going to happen for ADA. Let me move on to XRP. If we go to the long term for XRP, right? Long term for XRP. I don't know what is going on with these. Yeah, long term for XRP. We are basically we did see a new all-time high of around 199, and it's just kind of a sideways consolidation period from here. From what I'm looking at here, we're looking at some sort of symmetrical triangle, but it's quite hard to know. Some ascending triangle to the upside, right? But the next level of support, if we're going to come down and test it, would be around 61 cents, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. But we do have to take into account. We do have. Oh, we are on the weekly chart, right? We're on the weekly chart. That's why, right? Yeah. So we're on the weekly chart. So this is insanely messy right now. Let me get rid of these. Here we go. Yeah. So we are in a symmetrical triangle, as I just said, right? On the long term for XRP. If we're looking at a break to the upside, this would be the greedy measure move, right? This would be the greedy measure move to the upside, not that. This would be the greedy measure move to the upside, and we'd be looking at around near enough a $3, $2.80, $2.70 really, XRP. But I highly doubt that's going to happen because that is obviously a greedy measure move. If we're looking at a non-greedy measure move for XRP, it would look something like so. We do it from the midterm of this symmetrical triangle, and we basically move it up like so. Obviously, depending on where we're going to break this dominant trend line to the upside, and also we have to think about the new all-time height that we're gonna find some resistance there as well. So yeah, we do have to think about that. Obviously, depending on where we break, is going to be on the predication of where the high point of this measure move is going to be completion to. But if you're going to be looking at a long here, you'll be looking at around a 40% gain there, which is ridiculous even for a spot wallet. Okay. So that's something to think about for XRP on the long term. If let's move to the midterm, don't be a crowded chart. Yeah, looks pretty empty in my opinion. We do have, obviously, was that from? Let's go back to the daily quickly. Yeah, that is from April. Yeah, it's the same sort of move, right? Yeah, same sort of move. So we do. It's basically just a shadow of this triangle that we have going on here. For you that can't see that, I'm not going to draw it again, but yeah, that's what we were just talking about, right? That's what we were just talking about. So that's something to think about. We do have another trend line coming down here to dominate, so we got to get through that as well in terms of moving averages right now. What we're going to be looking at getting through. We're testing this 10 simple at the moment. We've just got over the 200. Just got over the 200 MA here, so that's definitely. We're definitely going to find some support on there because it's a pretty dominant trend line, right? As you can see here, we found some support on it last dump that we had, and we pumped right up, right? In terms of percentages for that pump, it was literally like a 13%, and for XRP, that is just insane. Look, it happened again here when we found support on this 200, right? Bang, 33%. So that's definitely something to think about as we are testing it. Well, we tested it and broken it. If we can find some major support here, then that'd be amazing because I can see some surge to the upside. And as you can see here, we have, let's get rid of that. We have tested this pretty dominant trend line here, right? We've tested this pretty dominant trend line. To the downside. So we're probably looking at some sort of break to the upside, right? And the next point of resistance to hit there is 169. God, I remember XRP when it was like 20 cents. I used to laugh at my friend for buying it. Crazy. Lovely. But yeah, in terms of what I think is going to happen for XRP, I think we're probably going to come up, find a nice level of support on this 200, and basically break this moving average here. Break this moving average here, this 55, and this price action channel. If we can break that, find support on that, it'll basically signal an uptrend, right? And that indicates that we're going to break this this trend line here, and that means on the long term we're going to be looking at breaking. We're going to be looking at breaking this symmetrical triangle. That's another fundamental to think about when trading XRP, right? If we're going to keep pushing to the upside, we're going to be looking at a nice break, right? But as you can see, short term right now, we're looking at something like so. Something like so. I mean, we do have a little ascending triangle that's formed it, and I think we're breaking that, to be honest with you. I think we're breaking that at the moment, yeah. So it's not quite ascending, probably symmetrical in a sense, yeah. So at the moment we're in a sense we're testing for the new guys here. Let me just bring this down. I should probably look at the chat. There's no one in the chat, it's alright. So as you can see here, we do have an ascending triangle here, right? ascending triangle in terms of what I think is going to happen for the measure move to the upside here. I think we're going to be looking at something like I just said, basically, to come up and test this trend line. So in terms of a measure move to the upside, probably do something like that, maybe even shorter, like so. And that basically indicates that we're going to come up and test this trend line here, right? And also we do have this this level of support, sorry, this level of resistance to get through, and this 200 moving average there to get through as well. So that is definitely a trade to think about on XRP. But yeah, yeah, that's basically the short term for XRP. So let's move to, what should we do now? Let's move to let's move to Litecoin. A little bit of Litecoin. Not a lot of people like Litecoin. In terms of Ethereum right now, that's basically pumping up again, right? As it always is, pumping up again. As said before, we are testing this 55. We are looking at to come up and test this 4,100 resistance level there. Obviously, it's not going to happen straight away, unless we get some insane big candles there. But I don't think it's going to happen straight away. Anyway, back to Litecoin. I just saw a bit of movement on the side chart there, so that's why I went onto it. Back to Litecoin. Right, if we go to the long term for Litecoin here, we're going to be looking at something like so, right? You can see we've got this dominant trend line to the upside, on the upside, right? This dominant trend line on the upside. We have also, to delete these things on my chart, we also have this trend line here. So that's basically the confirmation that we're getting here. These touches here, this is confirmation that we're getting some sort of rising wedge pattern, right? This rising wedge pattern could look something like so, could look something like so. But we are getting this confirmation. The next point of confirmation for me is around 436, a new all-time high for Litecoin, which would be amazing. Which is just crazy because obviously Litecoin has been surging recently. I've been watching; it's just been absolutely surging. And this pullback from Elon, it's in a sense healthy, right? As you can see here, we do have many pullbacks for Litecoin, many pullbacks. So this is literally something that is healthy, and it's needed. It's needed for a healthy chart, right? It's needed for a healthy chart. It's needed for this rising wedge here. So in terms of what I think is going to happen, I think we're going to come up, test this volume weighted ATR band that we have here. This this red line here. Also, we got to smash through these not so heavy moving averages here, but we usually find a bit of support and a bit of consolidation point around them. So yeah, I think we are going to come up and test this top side of this rising wedge here. We're going to come up and test this top side of this rising wedge. If we can break this horizontal resistance point here and find a new all-time high, right? If that's the case, then we could be looking at a breakout of this wedge. If we can get a breakout of this wedge, we would be looking at some sort of measure move up to, let's do it on the predication like this, right? We're looking at some sort of measure move up from breaking this rising wedge. In terms of percentages, we're looking at a nice 30% trade there, but in terms of yeah, in terms of breaking it, that would be the measure move. And in terms of price, we're probably looking at around a $550 Litecoin, which is just, it's crazy to say, but very achievable indeed, right? That's the long term for Litecoin. Let me go for the little midterm. Same sort of scenario. We do have the rising wedge here to think about. Obviously, we do have a bit more spillovers just because it's the smaller time frames. But we are testing this this level of support, this level of resistance here, right? And as you can see, last time we didn't find resistance on that. We didn't find support on it. We basically dumped, right? So that's something to think about. We could potentially dump, come down and test this trend line here around 313. Okay, so that's something to think about for the short term. In terms of the MACD for the short term, right? We have just set a lower low on the MACD here, so that basically indicates a new sort of trend that we have forming. Because as you can see here, we do have this. Yeah, so we broke this sort of trend here. So we basically started a new downtrend in terms of the MACD here. But we are literally imminently due a bullish crossover, right? That bullish crossover is likely to happen when we come up and test this price action channel and the 55 moving average up here, right? It's likely to happen when we test that and potentially find support on this horizontal line here. If we can, if we can't. If we can't, then we're going to come down and test this trend line here, as I just said, and that'll basically indicate an even lower low for the start of this new trend on the MACD, right? And then we'll be seeing some sort of stairway action potentially from there, right? In terms of an uptrend for the MACD, right, we do have this highest point here in the last frequent trend. We can see a switch over, but as you can see, we're gonna have the bullish crossover, right? And then this is gonna cause some sort of trade pattern like so. Likelihood for it to play out, it's not gonna break this trend line. So I can basically see us, in a sense, another fundamental that we're gonna come up and test this 55 and then get rejected from there, causing a lower high on. When we switch over, we're going to basically come down, test this trend line, and then causing a lower high on this trend, right? But we do need to get that switch over to, in a sense, end this trend that we have going on the MACD here. That's something that I'd like to see there, and that is, in a sense, the short term on the MACD for, no, the midterm on the MACD for Litecoin, right? In terms of the RSI, at the moment, we're pretty, not quite central, but we're getting there. We were oversold. As you can see, this huge dump here, that caused us to be oversold. So we are in the recovery stage, but in my opinion, we do have this pretty dominant trend line on the RSI here to get over, right? And in my opinion, I don't think we're gonna get there, to be honest, in terms of what I think is gonna happen in terms of what we just saw on the MACD there, that fundamental there, this horizontal resistance point, this coiled up moving average point here. I don't think we're gonna get there. I think we're probably gonna get somewhere around here, and that basically indicates this trend itself, right? This trend itself, right? So that's definitely something to think about in terms of trading Litecoin itself, right? Brilliant, right? Brilliant, right? I think I'm going to round off the stream here, guys. I'd just like to say thank you for tuning in. Obviously, it was my first stream, so I will be improving continuously from here. I will be on every single morning, 8:30 to 9:30 start, and I will be streaming for around an hour or two, see how we go. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you like the content, you want to trade with me every morning, drop a sub, turn that like button blue. It helps me out tremendously. Obviously, new guy on the block. Need a hand here, people. And I didn't get any requests in the chat, but next time, request some coins in the chat if you're here, and I will do a little TA on that for you guys as well. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. It's a peace out from me, and I'll see you guys later.